Do you really have control over your life? Before answering, think carefully. Did you choose your desires, your beliefs, your fears, or were they implanted in you by your family, by society, by experiences you don't even remember? We all like to believe that we're free, that our decisions are the result of a rational and independent mind. But what if all of this is just a carefully constructed illusion? Carl Jung had a disturbing view of the human psyche. For him, most of what we call free will is merely a reflection of the unconscious, a theater of shadows where we think we are in control, but in reality, we are guided by hidden forces within us. Have you ever wondered why you repeat the same mistakes? Why you are attracted to the same types of people? Why you sabotage your own chances of happiness? If you truly had free will, why would you make choices that lead you to suffering? The truth is that most of the decisions you make were already written long before you even realized it. Your childhood programmed you. The traumas you buried define how you react to the world. The emotions you avoid control every aspect of your life. And the most frightening part, your unconscious wants to keep things exactly as they are. It doesn't want change. It doesn't want you to awaken. Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. But what does this really mean? What forces are manipulating you behind the scenes of your own mind? And more importantly, is there a way to break this illusion and regain control over your own life? If you think you already know the answers, think again. Because what you are about to discover may forever change the way you see yourself. If you really had free will, why do you so often feel trapped in the same patterns? Why, despite promising yourself that you will be different, that this time you will make better choices, do you end up returning to the same destructive cycles? The answer is not in your willpower or your reasoning ability. It lies in something much deeper, your unconscious. Carl Jung understood that the unconscious was not just a repository of forgotten memories or repressed thoughts. It is a living force, operating silently behind the scenes of your mind, shaping your decisions long before you are even aware of them. It manifests in impulses, in inexplicable intuitions, in that strange feeling of, I've been through this before. Imagine an iceberg. Your conscious mind, what you believe to be you, your ego, your personality, is just the visible tip above the water. But below the surface, much larger and more powerful, is the submerged part of the iceberg, your unconscious. It holds not only memories and past experiences, but also conditioning that you absorbed without realizing it. The values of your family, the norms of society, the beliefs you were taught as a child, all of this becomes part of your decision-making system, even if you never questioned whether these values truly make sense for you. Want an example? Think of someone who always ends up falling in love with people who hurt them. Consciously, this person wants a healthy relationship. They tell themselves that next time will be different. But when they realize it, they are already caught up in another cycle of pain. Why? Because their unconscious associates love with suffering. Perhaps in childhood, this person only received attention when they were sad or vulnerable. Maybe they grew up in an environment where affection was mixed with emotional instability. These experiences were recorded deep in their mind, like a hidden program running in the background. And so, without realizing it, this person seeks the same pattern repeatedly because the unconscious has one goal: to keep everything familiar. The unconscious does not want you to change. It has been programmed to keep you safe within the patterns it knows. And that means that even when you think you are making a rational decision, Your mind has already chosen for you long before. But if that's the case, how can we break this cycle? How can we escape this invisible prison that controls our lives without us realizing it? To understand this, we need to dive into one of Jung's darkest concepts, the shadow, the hidden part of your mind that truly dictates what you do. If there is something within you that shapes your choices without you realizing it, what is your true nature? Do you really know yourself? The answer may be more disturbing than you imagine. According to Jung, within each of us exists a dark aspect, a repressed part of our psyche that acts silently, influencing our thoughts, emotions, and decisions. He called this force the shadow. The shadow is not just a philosophical concept or an abstract archetype. It is real as any conscious thought you have, and it has a much greater power over your life than you would like to admit. Think of all the times you reacted in a way that you later couldn't explain. That moment when you lost control, when you felt irrational hatred, when you sabotaged an opportunity you wanted. That jealousy that seemed illogical, that fear that made no sense, that secret pleasure in seeing someone fail. All these reactions do not come from your rational self. They come from the shadow. Since childhood, we are taught to hide certain parts of ourselves. You cannot be selfish. You cannot feel anger. You cannot be vulnerable. So, what do? We bury these emotions and pretend they don't exist. We create a mask, an acceptable persona for the world, and convince ourselves that we are only this idealized version. But what we repress does not disappear. On the contrary, it becomes even stronger because the unconscious does not forget. It just waits for the right moment to take control. And that is exactly what happens. The shadow manifests in unexpected ways. It appears in our projections, when we judge in others what we do not accept in ourselves. Have you ever noticed how certain behaviors of other people deeply bother you? How that arrogant colleague irritates you, perhaps because he expresses a confidence you wish you had? How someone who is too impulsive makes you angry, perhaps because you were taught to always repress your desires? This is the shadow projecting itself onto others. But it also manifests in even more dangerous ways. It can make you self-sabotage, lead you to seek situations that reinforce your worst fears, and turn your repressed desire into obsession. How many people spend their lives running away from something only to run directly toward it? The shadow guides them without them realizing it. And here is the most important question. As long as you ignore your shadow, you will never be in control. You will believe that your decisions are yours, but in reality, they're dictated by the aspects of yourself that you refuse to face. You think you are choosing your destiny, but you are merely following an invisible script written by the parts of you that remain trapped in the dark. But if this is true, if hidden forces within us really manipulate us, what about the external world? Are we also conditioned by something even greater? Something that influences us from the moment we are born? To understand this, we need to look beyond ourselves and question one of humanity's greatest illusions. The idea that we are independent individuals in a free society. If your unconscious is already manipulating you on an individual level, imagine what happens when we add to that the impact of an entire society programmed to control the way you think, act, and even feel. From the moment you were born, even before you were aware of yourself, you were already being shaped by something greater than your own psyche. The world you live in, the culture that surrounds you, the invisible rules that tell you what is right and wrong. All of this forms a mental labyrinth from which few people can escape. Think about it. Did you choose your beliefs? Or were they implanted in you through your family, school, media, and religion? Since childhood, you have been taught to obey certain norms, to avoid certain behaviors, and to desire specific things. You were not born wanting a stable job, a beautiful house, and social acceptance. These were ideas that were introjected into you without your realizing it. You believe you want these things because it is normal. But the question that almost no one asks is, normal for whom? Society does not want you to be a truly free individual. It wants you to fit in. It wants you to follow a predetermined path, a predictable cycle of study, work, consumption, and obedience. And to ensure that you do not stray from this path, it uses one of the most powerful mechanisms that exist: emotional programming. From an early age, you learn that deviating from the expected brings consequences. You learn to feel guilt when you think differently from the group. You learn to feel fear when you challenge an authority. You learn to desire what everyone desires, because the worst punishment for the human mind is isolation. But what happens when everyone around you has also been programmed in the same way? We create a system where each person reinforces the illusion of the other. See how this works? Social media sells an idea of happiness based on consumption and external validation. You need to travel, have a perfect body, and always be successful, because if you don't do that, you feel like you are failing. But who defined this standard? Why do you feel this need? The answer is simple: because society created this ruler to measure your worth, and thus you become a prisoner of an endless search for something that was never truly your desire. But perhaps the most brutal example of how we are controlled is the very concept of morality. Jung believed that much of what we call right and wrong does not come from an absolute truth, but from collective conditioning. You follow rules that you have never questioned. You avoid certain behaviors not because you have deeply reflected on them, but because you were taught to fear or reject them. And the most dangerous part, you believe that these rules were your choices. But what if all of this is just a great illusion? What if the freedom you think you have is nothing more than an invisible prison? If society can manipulate what you desire, what you fear, and even what you consider right and wrong, how can we trust any choice we make? Is there a way to escape this cycle? To answer this question, Jung left us a clue, a place where the true desires of the soul reveal themselves without censorship, where the masks fall away, and where we can see what really controls us: dreams. If there is a place where the currents of social conditioning cannot hold you, where the rules you follow in waking life cease to exist, that place is the world of dreams. Jung believed that dreams were much more than mere fragments of meaningless imagination. They were direct messages from the unconscious, trying to show you something that your conscious mind refuses to see. While we are awake, we wear masks, conform to patterns, and rationalize our choices. But when we sleep, the truth comes to the surface. Think about your own dreams. How many times have you woken up after a strange dream and wondered, what the hell does this mean? Perhaps you dreamed that you were trapped in a maze, always returning to the same place, unable to find the exit. Or maybe you dreamed that you were running away from something, but you didn't know exactly what. Or even more intriguingly, you dreamed of a version of yourself that seemed different, freer, bolder, more authentic. These are not just delusions of the mind. They are symbols, coded messages from your unconscious, showing you what you do not want or cannot see when you are awake. Jung realized that our dreams often reveal the desires and fears we repress. They expose the parts of us that have been banished to the shadow, the impulses we deny, the traumas we bury, the truths we are not ready to accept. Imagine someone who spends their whole life striving to be a good, controlled and disciplined person, but who, in their dreams, sees themselves committing impulsive, aggressive, or even forbidden acts. Does that mean this person is bad? No. It means that there are parts of their psyche that have been repressed and are now trying to emerge, to be recognized. Dreams are the mirror of what truly moves us. Someone who feels comfortable in their routine, but constantly dreams that they are lost, may be repressing a deep need for change. Someone who, in waking life, prides themselves on their rationality, but in dreams is overwhelmed by intense and uncontrolled emotions, may be suffocating essential parts of themselves. The unconscious does not lie. It always finds a way to express itself. But the most frightening thing is that often dreams reveal that our choices are not really ours. How many times have you dreamed that you were following a path, but suddenly realized you didn't know where you were going, or that you were trapped in a strange house full of doors but unable to get out? These images are metaphors for what happens in real life. We follow directions we never question, trapped in cycles that seem familiar, but we do not know where they came from. The question that remains is, if our dreams are a window into what we truly want and fear, what can we do with this knowledge? How can we use this symbolic language to regain control over our lives? The answer lies in what Jung considered the most important process of all human existence, a path that few dare to follow: the process of individuation. If everything you have learned so far is true, then you have never really been free. Your choices have been influenced by the unconscious, your beliefs shaped by society, and your hidden desires only reveal themselves when you sleep. But if free will is an illusion, does that mean we are doomed to live as puppets, trapped by forces we cannot control? Jung believed not. He knew there was a way to escape this invisible cycle. But that path is not easy. It requires you to face the hardest truth of all, the truth about yourself. This process has a name: individuation, and it is your only chance to become truly free. Individuation is the process of integrating all parts of your psyche. This means looking at your shadow and recognizing the aspects of yourself that you are afraid to accept. It means questioning the beliefs you carry as your own, but which, deep down, were implanted in you by others. It means understanding that many of the things you desire may not actually be your own wishes, but rather reflections of what you were taught to want. The first step to breaking the illusion of free will is to accept that you are not in control as much as you think. As long as you continue to believe that your decisions are purely rational, that your fears have no influence over you, that your past does not shape your reactions in the present, you will continue to live as a prisoner without realizing you are in a cell. The second step is to bring to light everything that is hidden in the unconscious. This means observing your automatic reactions, your repetitive patterns, the moments when you act without thinking. It means paying attention to your dreams because they carry messages that your conscious mind ignores. It means reflecting on the behaviors of others that irritate you the most because they are often a mirror of the repressed parts within you. But the third step is the hardest of all: to act consciously against the conditioning that keeps you trapped. This means challenging your beliefs, breaking patterns that you follow without questioning, choosing paths that may scare you but are genuine to who you really are. This is the moment when you begin to shape your own existence, rather than just reacting to what has been imposed on you. Individuation is not a destination, but a continuous process. You will never reach a point where you are complete because your psyche is alive, dynamic, always evolving. But each step on this path means reclaiming a piece of your true self, a piece that was once hidden by the shadows of the unconscious. And now we come to the final question. If most people live their entire lives without ever realizing this invisible prison, what happens to those who see the truth? If you dare to look beyond the veil and perceive the illusion of free will, how will this change your life? And more importantly, how will it change the way others see you? Most people will never realize they are trapped. They will spend their entire lives following an invisible script, believing that their choices are their own, that their desires are authentic, that their beliefs are the result of an independent mind. And perhaps it's better this way, because seeing the truth comes at a cost. Once you perceive the illusion, you can no longer go back. Jung knew that awakening to the reality of the unconscious does not bring comfort, but rather discomfort. When you understand that a large part of your life has been controlled by forces you could not see, a strange feeling arises, a mix of liberation and anguish. You are no longer just a piece on the board, but now carry the responsibility of deciding who you really want to be. And that is frightening. Look at the people around you. See how many of them live trapped in the same patterns, making the same mistakes, justifying their actions without ever questioning the roots of their own behaviors. They believe they are in control. They believe they know who they are. But you now know it is not quite that way. The unconscious controls more than we want to admit. And here lies the true dilemma. What to do with this knowledge? You can ignore it and continue living as before, pretending you never saw the truth. Or you can start applying what you have learned, observing your own impulses, challenging your beliefs, questioning your desires. But be prepared. Society does not like those who awaken, because those who see beyond the illusion become a threat to those who are still asleep. Now, I want to know from you, what was the moment in your life when you realized you were not really in control? Was there a situation, a mistake, a pattern that repeated itself so many times that it finally made you question whether you truly had free will? Comment below. Your experience can help more people reflect on this. And more importantly, don't stop here. If you really want to understand how the mind works and how these invisible forces continue to shape your life, watch the next video. It is essential to deepen this journey of self-knowledge. You have already taken the first step. Now, keep going.